Arborist-podcast, Episode 3, Tree Cells and Tissues, How Trees Are Built and How They Function. Welcome back to the Arborist-podcast. This podcast is designed to help you study for the Certified Arborist Exam by breaking the material down into short, easy-to-follow episodes. As a reminder, this podcast is not affiliated with or endorsed by the International Society of Arboriculture. It's an independent educational resource created to support arborists preparing for the certification exam. In the last episode, we talked about how trees are classified and why those classifications matter. Today, we're moving deeper into tree biology by looking at tree cells and tissues. This episode is about understanding what trees are made of and how their internal systems work together. Why cells matter in arboriculture. All living things are made of cells, and trees are no exception. Cells are the smallest living units in a tree. Even though we can't see them without a microscope, everything a tree does starts at the cellular level. Growth, energy storage, water movement, and response to injury all depend on how tree cells function. For arborists, understanding cells helps explain why trees respond the way they do to pruning, damage, and stress. Basic structure of a tree cell. Tree cells share many features with other plant cells. Each cell is surrounded by a rigid cell wall, which provides structure and support. Inside the cell is a membrane that controls what enters and leaves. Tree cells also contain a nucleus, which controls cell activity, and specialized structures that carry out specific functions. One important feature of plant cells is the presence of chloroplasts. These are found mainly in leaves and are responsible for photosynthesis, the process that allows trees to make their own food. From cells to tissues, while individual cells perform specific jobs, most tree functions rely on groups of cells working together. These groups of similar cells are called tissues. In trees, tissues are organized into systems that transport water, move energy, provide support, and allow growth. Understanding tissues is more important for arborists than memorizing individual cell parts, because tissues are what we interact with when we prune, wound, or examine a tree. Xylem, moving water and providing support. Xylem is the tissue responsible for moving water and dissolved minerals from the roots up to the leaves. This movement happens through specialized xylem cells that form long continuous pathways inside the tree. Xylem also provides structural support. Wood is made mostly of xylem tissue, which is why it plays such a large role in tree strength and stability. When arborists talk about sapwood and heartwood, they're talking about different parts of the xylem system. Phloem, transporting energy. Phloem is the tissue responsible for moving sugars and other energy products throughout the tree. These sugars are produced in the leaves through photosynthesis and then transported to areas that need energy, such as growing roots, developing buds, and storage tissues. Unlike xylem, phloem moves materials in multiple directions, depending on where energy is needed. Damage to the phloem can severely affect a tree's health, even if the tree initially looks stable. Cambium, the growth layer, between the xylem and phloem is a thin layer of tissue called the cambium. The cambium is responsible for secondary growth, which increases the diameter of the tree over time. Each growing season, the cambium produces new xylem on the inside and new phloem on the outside. This process creates growth rings that arborists can see when wood is cut. Because the cambium is so thin and active, it's especially vulnerable to injury. Why this matters to arborists. Understanding cells and tissues helps arborists make better decisions. This episode builds directly on what we've already covered. This knowledge will become even more important when we talk about tree defense, pruning practices, and tree risk. When a tree is girdled or severely damaged, it's often the phloem that's affected first, leading to decline even though the tree may still be standing. When you prune a branch, you're cutting through xylem, phloem, and cambium. Knowing how these tissues respond to injury helps explain wound closure and decay development. Tree classification helps group trees by shared traits, while tree cells and tissues explain how those traits function internally. As we move forward, we'll continue building from these internal systems outward to roots, stems, and leaves. Let's recap the key points. Trees are made of cells, which form tissues that carry out essential functions. Xylem moves water and provides structure. Phloem transports energy. The cambium produces new growth and increases tree diameter. Understanding these tissues helps arborists explain tree growth, stress responses, and reactions to injury. In the next episode, we'll shift our focus below ground and talk about tree roots. We'll look at root structure, growth patterns, and why roots are so critical to tree health and stability. Thanks for listening to the Arborist podcast. Let's keep building your arborist knowledge one topic at a time.